Yeah, here we are live. So Troy Francis, James Tusk, and Eddie. You guys are in Brazil. I'm sitting with my dick in my hand in London as usual.
You're looking younger. The old bench routine continues. Every time I see you, you've anti-aged somewhat.
I wonder how that is. I wonder how that's happening.
Well, is Ozempic also anti-aging, or is it just the growth hormone in the bath?
Is what?
I'm just fucking around. It's the growth hormone, isn't it? That's the anti-aging.
Well, yes, yeah. I saw a mutual friend of ours the other day actually, and he was talking about it because he was like, Tusk says I need to get on it because it's anti-aging, and that's why you're looking younger, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, to be fair, he's probably right.
He's done a massive U-turn, mate. He was slagging me off for considering this rapid weight loss drug because I said, look, just to get in shape for Carnival, I'm going to take a bit of the Ozempic. He's like, mate, you don't need that. And he went on a rant about it. And now he's on the bloody Ozempic. He's on this new thing called Monjuro.
He's on that newer one, isn't he? Monjuro or something. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, we're very off topic.
Yes. So Eddie is the habits master. So we're going to be talking about why habits are necessary to get what you want in life, why they're really the only thing, and how all of the kind of key criteria, whether it's socializing or whether it's learning a new language or learning fighting or whatever it is you want, is achieved through habits and that accountability. And that's what Eddie's very, very good at helping with. So maybe do you want to give a brief intro on why habits are so important and the myths around just for success?
Yeah, so I think one thing that all of us, we like to believe we're sold this myth that we can make change overnight, right? We see something on Instagram or whatever, all the stuff we're going to be successful overnight. We want to believe it because it's easy, right? We want to believe that there's quick fixes.
I'm not sure what happened there. I think they just disappeared off the stream. Well, hang on a sec. I think they're coming back in. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. You got to make sure everyone's on their toes.
Yeah. So I was saying, we're sold this myth that we can make change really quickly, overnight success, right? I mean, it can happen, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Success is just consistency, with things. It's like doing it's like people don't market it because it sounds quite boring, right? But that is literally the key to success in all areas, in my opinion, whether that's dating. With dating, you've got to be consistent. You've got to put the reps in. Being sociable, again, it's a muscle. You have to train. You have to be consistent, talk to people every day. Fitness, all areas of your life. It's like you're not really going to make real progress without consistency, right? Without building good habits. And we all have bad habits in these areas that essentially what a habit is, it's just an automatic solution, right? To a problem we have. We're just doing stuff automatically, which is great because we don't have to think about it. The problem is when it's just these bad habits that are wired in automatically that we're just doing, we don't even know why we're doing it and they're harming us. So it's a skill we can use to our advantage, right? So how do we automate these things, these habits that are going to actually help me meet my goals, right? And how do I eliminate the ones that aren't really goals, right?
And conscious awareness of these things, take a back seat, just seeing what you actually do is the first step, isn't it? And it's going to be a collection of loads of bad ones, some neutral ones, and some good ones. But you want to constantly be aware of the really good ones and stack those up, and then reduce the negatives, right?
Exactly, and that's so basically what I did. What I've been working on recently, I've sent it out. I think all the guys actually filled it in. I don't know if you saw it, Troy. There's a quiz that I filled in. Basically, it's the habits mastery quiz. So we've got 8 different areas, and what I'm actually going to do in this stream is go over those areas as well and figure out, how, the importance of each area, how we can improve it. I think a lot of people probably read those things and they're like, oh shit, I wasn't aware I was doing that. So for example, one thing that for me is a really bad habit is you wake up and you start the day just looking at social media on your phone. We just do this without even realizing. And most people have this habit and you don't realize how much better you feel if you replace that with, a cold shower, push-ups, meditation. That's just one example of many of just these habits that we just do for no real reason. They're not helping us at all.
And for guys maybe haven't seen you before on the last edge where you were helping out with the habits, who are you and why should people listen to what you have to say?
Because I'm the expert.
Yes, exactly. No more questions needed. Exactly as we all are. Perfecto.
No, I mean, I've worked with a lot of clients, who had problems with, a lot of it's to do with dopamine, right? Instant gratification. So we get stuck in this habit, this loop of just seeking immediate rewards for things, right? focusing on the moment, whether that's like cravings for food, looking at phones, stuff like that. We have these things. So it's like I've helped a lot of people who've had those problems. Think about the long term, right? Focus on the long term. You've got to think about things that are going to help you, mid-term, long-term, rather than just this instant gratification. Because usually those habits don't actually, help you meet your goals.
And, I know you on a personal level for some time. I'd say probably you're the most habitualized person I've ever seen when it comes to learning skill sets, because you can do 8 or 9 relatively interesting things to quite a high level. And have you done that purely through habit repetition, right? There's nothing else to it. I mean, you're obviously a smart guy, but it's more about the repetition and consistency.
Yeah, so it's about the habits, but also dissolving your ego, right? So it's about you're doing something, you realize, okay, like for example with dating, let's say you're doing approaching and you're getting a load of blowouts. It's having that ability to step back and think, okay, what am I doing wrong? How can I improve? It's like almost an obsession, right, with this growth mindset improvement. So it's like, how can you do that? And then if you do that all the time, being aware of what you're doing wrong, then it's easy to make change.
Yeah. Just as a little bit of context, by the way, for people who are joining this and they don't know. So we're currently running a course called The Edge. So myself and James and Les are running this course called The Edge. It's now The Edge 4, 4th iteration. Eddie is the habits expert who's on that course. And this is this is basically a webinar that would normally be private for members of that group. But we're putting this one out on YouTube because obviously the information is really valuable. So when we're referring to that's what we're talking about. Obviously, we're closed now for business because we're in session. But as and when the next one comes out, obviously keep your ear to the ground because we teach you this, but we teach you just basically everything you need to know about how to become a self-actualized man who's a force to be reckoned with in dating. So just to give that little bit of context. But anyway, sorry. So as far as the habit formation stuff's concerned, I mean, it's kind of. It really is the cornerstone to everything, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like this is why I designed this quiz. Actually, it might be quite good to maybe. Can we share your screen and show an example of the quiz?
You can share. Yeah, you should be able to share screen.
And I think what would be good as well.
Maybe send it. Can you send it to Troy on WhatsApp or
I don't have Troy's.
What's the best?
Send it to you and you forward to him maybe.
To Troy's email. Yeah.
Well, can you share screen from your side?
I'm not logged in.
Oh, okay.
So I'm choosing someone random here.
Okay. So I will forward it to Troy. We'll try Francis. No.
Oh, you send an email.
And it'd be good. What we'll do also as well, we're going to share the link of the quiz so people can do it because probably a lot of people aren't aware of things that are.
Francis 7 Laws or.
Yeah. Do that one. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Is it on WhatsApp for me? Forward it to Troy. Or should I forward it on WhatsApp, Troy? Is that
easier? You can do it. Yeah, it might be easier. I'm just loading up WhatsApp, so you can do it on WhatsApp. But okay. I mean, like you say, I mean, habits just for all of these things, really. I mean, dating, which obviously is the main reason a lot of people watch our content, but it's so much more than that. It's building a business, it's exercise, it's just all aspects of your life, really.
Yeah, and I think specifically for dating, I think it's so important, right? For example, I know so many people who are able to go out and they'll be with a group of people and they're really they can approach women easily, right? Because they've got that camaraderie, got that motivation. But as soon as they're by themselves, they can't speak to anyone, right? It's a lot of people have that problem, and I think again, it's a lot of it's to do with self-discipline, right? You've got to be able to create that habit of doing it by yourself, which is going to be harder. But again, if you just do it, it's going to become automatic.
Yes, exactly. I'm just waiting to see whether he sent the thing through. But just out of interest, while we're waiting for that, when did you sort of were you always somebody who had good habits and were very organized, or was it something that you had to learn yourself?
Good question. I think in some areas I've always had good habits. Like for example, with diet, fitness, I've been good. But dating was one for me that was quite hard. Just to be consistent with a lot of the stuff. I think a lot of people watching this video have this problem that I said. It's they just can't be consistent going out and just speaking to a couple of women a day or just being social in general, right? So that's something that I struggled a lot with in the past, and it's just you have to understand that with these new things, you're not going to want to do it. It's this, you have to have this ability to like fuck the way you feel and just do stuff knowing that you're going to get into a rhythm and you're not even going to think about it after. That's the hardest part with all this stuff. It's like managing your emotions, right?
100%.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Did you get the link, Troy?
Yeah, he's got his thing double tick on his WhatsApp now, so he should have it. We've got a lot of chat here about Johnny Berber passing away. Very sad when anyone.
Very sad. Very sad news, and I actually don't know anything very much about it, really.
I mean, he was the first ever person I did a boot camp with.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, an interesting guy. I did learn a lot from him initially. He was genuine. Look, he wasn't everyone's cup of tea. People had mixed opinions on him. He was quite quirky, but he was genuine. He did have his heart in the right place. He wasn't a dark triad dude, or he wasn't like we're trying to teach you on the edge. He was actually a good person. You know, it's sad when this stuff happens, doesn't it? And again, it's unfortunate, but you know, the broader questions around, I guess, men's mental health. And again, this is why people need camaraderie, right? This is why people need to be in a community where they can speak to other guys, really, because a lot of the dudes that have ended up in sticky situations like Tom Terrell, like Johnny Berber, they're very much lone wolves. And I think the whole industry, when you're traveling around, you're basically on the road, you're by yourself. You can get into a dark place, and then there's no one there to talk to. So I don't know the ins and outs of what happened to him. I'm slightly concerned by Aaron's comment as well. Tusk, I can see you ending up in the same predicament as Berber. I mean, as far as I know, I'm not suicidal, so I don't think it's going to happen.
It's a slightly
slightly out of the blue, isn't it? I can see you ending up dead soon, son. It's like, is he a fortune teller like Mystic Meg? Like, ooh, I mean, if he saw my drug consumption, I could agree with him, but he hasn't.
Yeah. So I brought this up on the screen now. I don't know if this is a bit premature, like I normally am. I need to speak to T about that, but yeah, did you want to have a look at this now? Do you want to go sort of talk about this?
Yeah, just to start, the idea of this, right? You want to build the life you want, right? You've got you want the life that you want to build. In order to do that, you have to have these areas that I've given in the test. You have to be able to master habits in all of these areas. You have to have discipline, with all of these things, and that's going to give you the structure to meet the goals, whatever they are. If that makes sense. So, for example, social. What would be good if you just scroll down? So this is just the profile of someone, right? Someone who's done the test, who's like got some high scores in some area, low in others, right?
Okay.
So should we start with the social?
Yeah, sure.
So if you keep on scrolling down, Troy. So basically the guys on the edge, I think 20 people on the edge filled in this test.
Yeah.
And the ones that people struggled with the most were, unsurprisingly, social mastery, right? I think 19 out of 20 either had low or medium. So there was only one person on the whole edge course who got a high score with that. So it's a common issue that people have. And the other one that people struggle with is technology, right?
So being hooked on your phone.
Yeah, 13 out of 20 had a low score on that, being hooked on their phone.
I think
social
they're underplaying
media.
that as well.
Yeah.
Because I've never met a guy who's not hooked on social media or their phone to some degree. I mean, I open WhatsApp 300 times a day, but it's business mixed in, but it's still way too much time.
Yeah. So only one person on the whole course had a high score with the technology, right? So these are the two main areas. So what does it mean? Social and dating mastery. It's the ability to just be able to go out by yourself, see a girl that you like and talk to her, right? And it's a lot easier said than done. And again, it's just building habits, right? So what were some of the questions in there? Can you remember regarding?
For social and dating, social is like, how comfortable do you feel talking to strangers? And then how comfortable do you feel, starting conversations with women you don't know you find attractive?
Yeah, building sexual tension.
Flirting, how effortlessly can you flirt? And I think guys are filling this in. These are the common things we see time and again that are issues, right? Inability to be consistent with the approaching process. Inability to see socializing as something you have to do really with frequency every day.
Yeah. And so how this works basically with my clients. So the clients who have had struggles in this area, we often have really unrealistic goals, right? We have, I want to be banging supermodels or whatever. We have this goal, and because it seems so out of reach, we procrastinate. We're not going to put in the work. We're not going to approach women because we have this goal that seems so unrealistic that we just want to avoid that discomfort and we don't do it. So how it works with habits is you start, we make it as easy as possible, right? I set different challenges on a daily basis to make it so easy. So like, for example, the first day could be like literally just walk out the house, walk to the shopping center where, you'd like to talk to women. That's number one, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like step by step, day by day, you add challenges like that. And then these it gradually become ingrained because you're doing them every day, building it up. It becomes automatic. It becomes a habit. And then you're not even thinking about it. And then you have to maintain it. A lot of people, I know I've had this in the past, like with dating, right? You get into some momentum, you get some success, and then you just stop doing it. You stop approaching and you're back at square one. It's like going to the gym. You have to be able to be consistent and like do it all the time. And it's like something that I don't think people talk about a lot. It's like, how do you actually manage to be consistent with it,
Taking socializing, do you think you need a definite defined goal, like I want to get a girlfriend within 3 months, or do you just do you think that plays into people's lack of motivation, or is it just build the process and trust in the fact that you're going to be happier being social? What do you think?
I think you need to have a goal of what you want, right? You need to have some kind of goal to walk towards, but I think the most important thing is breaking it down into these mini goals, right? So for example, in the book James Clear, Atomic Habits, right, he talks about how we have these habits and we have triggers, right? So we need to find like something, a specific time, a specific place. I'm going to do this habit, right? So there's no procrastination. So for example, one thing I'm doing every day, I'm living in Brazil on the beach. It's like 3 p.m. every single day. I walk down to the beach. It doesn't even have to be every day. It can be 4 or 5 days a week. I walk down to the beach and I'll talk to 2 people. And it's like just the fact that I do that at the same time every day, the same place, it's made it automatic. I just walk out the house and do it without thinking.
Right.
And and that's where you want to get to, isn't it? That point of, you're not even thinking about it. You're just doing the action.
Well, you said it for a long time, Troy, but these manufactured 3 hour, 4 hour sessions we take clients out to on boot camps, right? Where they're walking around a shopping mall on Sunday. That's not really what we want them to be doing, really, is it? In normal life, because it's slightly odd. We want them to just going out, being social animals, taking the shots as they see them, aiming for 3 a day, and then filling that in with just being playful and upbeat with everyone, every chance they get, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so when we do a boot camp or a training, we're taking guys out for longer periods of time, usually a couple of hours, and we're getting them into a bunch of different interactions. And the purpose of that is training, right? Because if you're not used to it or you haven't done it before, or you're rusty, you need to get some reps under your belt, basically, to sort of break through that. But in your normal life, you don't really want to be doing that because you become. It's just a weird thing to do, and it's not a very good use of your time. You want to get to that point where it's just part of who you are. You see somebody you like, you go and have a conversation with them, and that's it. It shouldn't be this big deal.
Big deal, should it? We made it into such a big deal, and when it's not actually a big deal, it's just making it sound like a human who happens to have tits. I mean, that's true, right? It's like suddenly, oh my god, overthinking, like rumination abound, right?
Yeah. When you think about it, a lot of men in the UK and America have tits as well. So why do we think it's so different?
That is true. They haven't been on the Ozempic. We need to
Exactly. So it needs to literally become habitual. But I mean, to the point that you were saying earlier, do you think that motivation is a key part of this? Because actually, funnily enough, I always harp on about this because it always kind of astounds me. But a lot of guys will say, "Oh, so what's my motivation to keep doing this?" And it's like, well, surely the motivation should be obvious, really, right? I mean, you want to meet, you want to date, you want to have sex, you want to.
Yeah, I mean, one thing
it shouldn't be. You don't need to be Einstein to work out what your motivation is. But some of these dudes
was traditionally the motivation for us, wasn't it? And I think a lot of guys, particularly we taught in recent iterations of this online course or in boot camps, it's almost like they've forgotten they've got a pair of balls and they want to get laid. So whilst it doesn't have to be the raison d'etre for everyone, it's a very strong reason, especially if you're just getting into this. The reality is most guys get into state game because they want to get laid with hot girls. I mean, and that's okay. So I think actually remembering that is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And actually what that quiz, guys said their ability to create sexual tension and flirt was awful, right? And that's a learned skill, habitual.
Again, it's just something at first. It was like this with me. Like when I first started doing it, I felt so awkward, like, touching a girl or, teasing her. It felt weird. And like, even if I don't do it for a while, it's going to feel weird. But then You do it a few times and you don't even think about it; it just becomes automatic.
Everything's habitual, automated habits.
See what
Every
like
single thing.
And this is one thing that I think a big mistake people make is like they wait for motivation to do something.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna go out and like talk to girls when I feel like confident or when I feel good. And like a lot of the time that day never comes. And if you're only able to do that on specific days, you're not really going to make progress, right? So imagine if you go to the gym only on the days you're feeling your best, you're not going to get in great shape. It's the same thing. You have to learn to do this stuff on the days you don't feel like doing it. That's the most important thing. And the key, what is great is like having a system, like what I work with my clients, is having a system to help to hold them accountable, right? You have a system, it's almost like a game, right? Color coding, stuff like that. And then you're actually going to want to do it. You build a momentum, you build stacks, and then you actually carry on doing it, you know?
Yeah. What about the idea that passion comes through doing the action rather than the other way around?
That's exactly it, right? Exactly. You're never passionate to say learn Russian, right? You're just thinking, oh, fuck, it might take 2 years, but you just do it a little bit each day, and suddenly you're building up that habit. And you build momentum, you start getting success, and then you feel passionate about the thing. Same with approaching. Like we've often had it, Troy, where we've had a break, we go on holiday together, and we get back into it on the streets of St. Petersburg or whatever. And suddenly we're just like, fuck, this is really fun. We completely forgot this is actually a fun thing to do. Right?
Yeah.
And especially with cold approach, you can go 1 week without cold approaching, and you feel you're back to square one, but it's not. Your feelings aren't reality, are they?
No.
You've probably got Cafe Prami.
And it's similar. It's similar with exercise as well. It's similar with the gym, because sometimes you can go to the gym and you're just not really feeling it. You're just like, oh shit, I'm going to go through the motions here. And then when you get into the session, it ends up being one of those sessions that's really good. And I think it's hard to predict before you go in how it's going to be, if that makes sense. And it's the same thing with approach or with socializing. You might go out. There's been many times I've gone for a night out and I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling it. I just want to sit at home and watch Netflix. But then when you go out, you get into it a bit and you end up having a really good night. So the other thing is you've got to somewhat trust the process as well and just sort of do it. And you'd be surprised sometimes how good it ends up being.
Yeah, it's learning to like detach from the emotion, which is the really hard part, right? It's like, okay, I don't feel like it. I know I'm not in the right mood, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's quite hard to be able to do that, in the moment.
I think just this adage that women and children operate from feelings and men operate from values is kind of something to maybe fall back on. But I like to gamify it as well. Whatever I'm trying to do, gamify it.
You have to make it fun.
Make it fun. Ask yourself that question: how can I make this really fun? Whatever you're doing, how can I make it more fun?
It's a really fascinating thing. And actually, I've been listening to Hormozy again quite a lot recently, and he was talking about this, and he was saying that if you were the completely actualized version of yourself, if you imagine there's a continuum, the completely actualized guy, something terrible would happen and it wouldn't change his behavior at all. He would still get up and do exactly the same stuff as he was going to do. And then the complete flannel would be something bad happens and his whole life falls apart. And then most of us are operating somewhere in the middle where we sort of, something bad happens and maybe we half-arse it, but we don't go the whole way. And I suppose we want to be aiming more towards the dude who, it's almost like, his house burns down and he still goes out and he approaches, or he still goes out and does his job and smashes it, which is a very hard aspiration. I'm not saying it's realistic, but that's more what we want to be aiming at.
Well, they use that example, don't they? And I think Robert Greene talks about it. Is it Edison's factory burns down with all his inventions in. He gathers his family. He's like, look, you're never going to see a fire like this again. He's not upset at all. He's just like, whatever. Grab the family, like, come and look at how big this fire is. Completely like upbeat, self-amused mastery mindset of just whatever. It's not a big deal because it's not a big deal, right? The only big deal is death, right?
Yeah.
Number one, don't sweat the small stuff. Number two, it's all small stuff apart from death, which is ending. Nothing else is really a big deal. We all, we should gamify it more, treat the whole thing like a game, and realize that it's not the things themselves that cause the problems. It's our association of our emotions because of prior experiences that cause the problem. But again, getting comfortable with rejection, leaning into that, guys that we see that level up in the day game stuff really quickly, they flip rejection on its head and they just have fun with it and play with it because it's coming. 29 out of 30 girls are not getting into your bed. Yeah. You can see that as ultimate, like, fuck this. Or you can see it as, oh, that's cool. I can still learn, right?
That's a good mindset.
Yeah. Well, it's being unaffected by stuff. I mean, I actually put my money where my mouth is, because obviously we talk about James Bond and Daniel Craig so much, and we actually watched Casino Royale again recently, and I don't know if you remember the story, but Vesper basically kind of Eva Green kind of does him over at the end, and she sort of rips it off at the end, and then she drowns, and then the next shot, it cuts to a shot, and he's on a boat, and M's calling him after he's had his nutsack whipped by that guy, and all of that, and and he's sitting on this boat, and he just goes, "Yeah, the bitch is dead," and there's no emotion there at all. I mean, and then it turns out that actually there was a bit of she probably did care for him, and there was some kind of reason why she did what she did, but nevertheless, it's just completely taking the emotion out of the equation. And I mean, that's a character who is probably really psychopathic, and it's not sort of realistic for most of us to get quite that unemotional, but that's more where we want to be on the continuum.
Yeah, I think you don't want to become an emotionless robot, because the ability to instill emotion in others, I'd say, is the only real definition of charisma. That's how cult leaders operate. That's how charismatic speaks. That's the rock star on stage, right? Emotion is energy and motion, right? So the ability to instill emotion in others is charisma, but you want to be a master of your own emotions and experience them, but not be thrown off by them, because you operate from values that you've predetermined, the emotions that will come up as part of that process.
Yeah. Did you want to bring up the chart again, by the way?
If you could get it up, because I think it would be good to. So basically, so social and dating mastery, right there. That's one of the big areas. The other thing, the big thing that a lot of people have problems with is technology, right? As I was saying, we're all slaves to these devices, right? We're not even aware of it. We're bored. We're waiting in line for something. We're just checking our phone all the time. We can't not look at Instagram. We post on social media. We're looking at Instagram. We're just scrolling through anything randomly all the time, right? Just for this hit, instant gratification. This kind of this feeling of dopamine, right? We're all doing that, and again, it's stopping us from reaching our goals, right? Because we're constantly just wasting time on social media. Like one of my clients, I'm not going to name him, but he's spending, I think, 3 hours a day just looking at investments, and he wasn't aware of it. It was a habit he wasn't even aware of. And I was like, okay, we need to figure out how much time you're spending on these things. 3 hours a day wasted just looking at, investment stuff like that. So if you can direct that time into your life, reaching your goals, you're going to make massive change, right? And most of us were spending at least 1-2 hours a day just looking at shit, on YouTube, Instagram, just junk, and we're not even aware of it,
Well, that's the other thing, I suppose, as well, isn't it? The amount of time that we're all wasting on social media, and many other things as well, probably gaming, and there's loads of stuff, but but social media is definitely very high up there for sure for a lot of us. It's difficult. It's difficult for people like me and Tusk and others, because obviously to some extent we are kind of tied to it, because we're also using it as a platform to promote ourselves. So we've got this weird get out clause where it's sort of work. But I mean, I have to admit, I'm very guilty of, and I try and stop it. And when I stop it, I feel a lot better. But you do wake up in the morning and you do just start flipping through random shit on Instagram. And you feel like crap,
Yeah, we don't realize it until we try something different. Like one of my clients the other day was like, "Oh, whoa! I feel so good. Like I only spent 10 minutes on my phone this morning. Like so much more energy." I was like, "Man, yeah," but it's like because I was just used to spending, I think, 3 hours in the morning as soon as he woke up, on technology. He wasn't aware of, that you could feel so much better. And I think that's one of the big things as well with all of these areas, say the substance abuse as well, right? If you're always drinking, always doing drugs, hooked on coffee all the time, then you're not going to know how it feels when you're not having that stuff. It's only when you don't do it that you realize, oh shit, I actually feel so much better. Why would I want to go back to that? If that makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing with technology is it sounds cliche, but it's not your fault. You've got big tech companies who employ the greatest minds in the business to create all sorts of lures to hook you in. So you've got to realize the system is working against you, and you've got to put safeguards in place, don't you? To on flight mode, grey screen like I've got, very unappealing. You've got to pull out every stop you can to try and beat the tech companies at what they want you to do, which is eyeballs on screen. We live in an attention economy now, which is just focused on eyeballs on screen.
Yeah, and it's one step at a time as well, right? Again, it's like you could have this goal in your mind. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna like not use my phone or whatever. Again, it's unrealistic, right? You have to be realistic and start with baby steps, right? First of all, you need data, right? So a lot of the way I work with clients, like we have data, like how many times are you actually checking WhatsApp a day? How much time are you scrolling through stuff? How much time are you like going out, for example, to do your approaches and just like doing nothing, just procrastinating, walking around, not getting stuff done? So it's like having all this data, and then you can think, how can I like gradually optimize all of this stuff?
Because the data is neutral. It doesn't care. It's just tracked. So exactly. One of the most kind of concerning things from me, Troy, and Les's point of view running the edge is out of when, Troy put out a video saying, right, set your targets, lads, for the approaching. Only 3 dudes did it out of 20. Didn't even set, they're on an approach course, and only 3 of them actually gave us a number, told them accountable to, which makes me know, without a shadow of a doubt, the other dudes are just doing the 99% theory, 1% wanking option, and not leaving the house.
Yeah, and I think, just adding on to that, probably, if that was me, probably back in the day, I would have not wanted to say the number because I feel, oh, fuck, I feel guilty, right, about doing it. I think that's a big problem people have with these goals. They feel like shit. If they don't do the thing, right? Yes. So they set a goal that's too high, they don't do it, and then they feel like shit. And it's like, I want to avoid this shame, I want to avoid this guilt, so I'm not going to do that. And a lot of people have this vision. It's like self-discipline. It's this guy screaming, like you're a loser. You're like, what? It's like you need to do it. It's like, for me, it doesn't work. You actually have to make yourself feel like you're succeeding, right? Yes. So it's like you've got to be like, oh yeah, I just walked out and like asked someone for directions, and it's like, that just doing that, it's like, oh shit, nice, it's a success.
Even walking out the house every day, for me, that was the only thing to do. And when I was living in Sao Paulo for like 2 months, every day just walk out the house at 5 p.m. And most days I'd approach, but the only goal for me was walk out the house at 5 p.m. And then go for a walk. And then along the way, I did the reps, right? So I didn't even focus on what I needed to do. So putting your gym shoes on and driving to the gym. Yeah. And then just probably most days you're going to go to the gym, right? It's not over pressuring yourself.
It's not over pressuring yourself. It's like,
how much does that fuck us up? Like you're out on your own doing day game. Like, I've got to get. It's like you're throwing yourself into the front line, isn't it? I've got to get this done. Walking around with a grip on your face, marching around by yourself, like walking in circles. The problem? You put so much pressure on. You don't do any reps. You go home. You actually want to noose yourself.
Yeah, and then you feel like a loser, right? You're like, oh, I didn't approach. And then because of those negative feelings, you don't want to go out and do it again. You want to avoid that discomfort. Yes. So you don't actually go out and do it again. So this is a big problem we all have with this stuff.
And to sort of slightly devil's advocate it, I mean, is it not also important to have a goal to work towards? Because the other problem is then you can. And I think our coaching style is probably, well, depending on how many substances anybody's ingested, we tend to veer between a little bit Wes Watson, a sort of softer edge Wes Watson, and then actually being quite reasonable and quite nice and being like, no, just do it at your own pace. And we'll try to set, targets for people that are realistic for them. We're not going to say to somebody who's incredibly socially awkward, right, go and talk to 100 models this week or something ridiculous. Like we'll try and, but isn't it beneficial to have at least some sort of goal in mind? Because otherwise you really can let yourself off the hook,
Well, this is interesting, right? So if we go back to the Atomic Habits model, he said his analogy was everyone wants to win an Olympic medal. It's the processes that separate the gold medal Olympians from everyone else. And he argued that if you didn't have the end goal but still did the process, you get to what you wanted. So would a better end goal be, I want to be dating a girl within 3 months, or I want to do a certain number of reps per week, or I want to focus on becoming a flirt master? Where because of the fact you become this boss with flirting, you're going to get laid like a rock as a side effect. What do you think is better, process focused or an end goal, or both maybe?
I think for me personally, again, I think it depends on the client, but I think with most people it's the process, right?
Right.
I think for me, again, it's like my goal. One of my goals is that I want to be able to just like always stay in flow. I want to be able to go out and like just without thinking, be able to start conversations, not just with women, just with people. It's like, making the most out of this flow, right? Because when we're in flow, this is what we want with this stuff. We want to be able to be in flow as much as we can, which is when we're not even thinking about it. So I think that was a goal I have. And like, just because I was getting in that state, then I was able to easily talk to women, if that makes sense. And the goal wasn't to like, get laid or stuff. But like it ended up happening because I was like, my goal is to just be in flow.
And the good thing about that is you're not needing another party for that.
Exactly.
Whereas if you say I need to get laid or I need a girlfriend, you're putting it out to the universe, right? Whereas if you just focus on the process, you versus you, process focused work of that's not requiring anything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I want a wife. I'm on the wife hunt.
Yeah, I mean, the talk about the pressure on that. I mean, Jesus Christ, the pressure.
He's on the what?
There's this Northern Day game trend of saying, right, I'm hanging up my Spurs now. I'm on the wife hunt. I've got to find a wife within 18 months. Can you imagine the pressure on your day game like approaches, like to get a wife within a certain period? And you put it out on the internet, like for all the people to see. I'm on the wife hunt actually, but in Thailand, boys only.
Little bit
I'm getting a bit of flack in the comments here. Tusk mindset, just bang my wife, it's no big deal. I was never into cuckolding. Les is, I'm not. How much pickup has to do with looks or personality? Is it 30% looks, 70% personality? Well, for me, it's 95% looks, 5% personality, obviously.
Maybe even less.
Maybe even less.
But I mean, this is one of these sort of theoretical, slightly mindless.
Black pill narrative, isn't it? It's looks basically trumps everything, which we know, including fame, which is just complete nonsense. Mick Hucknall, how on earth has he banged 1,000 women on his looks? Right, some ginger eater, lead singer of Red. He's had sex with like 3,000 women because he's the lead singer of Red, right? Not because he looks.
Yeah. But also as well, I mean, I think it's difficult to answer a question like that because it's going to vary from person to person because you could get somebody who's not particularly great looking, but they might be incredibly charismatic and they're bringing this amazing X factor to the table and they may be getting laid like a rock star. Whereas you could equally get guys, and we teach guys like this, who are actually very good looking conventionally and they're not really getting the results you'd expect. So,
many years being good looking didn't pull it.
It was the same with me because I honestly think, again, the guys who I know who have been most successful with the stuff are the guys who are just putting the reps in. They're ones who are going out consistently. They're not like getting phased by rejection. They're just going for it, and then they're the ones who get the results.
Yeah, and actually on the Edge course, no one knows who these people are apart from us. So Eric and Alex G are great examples of that. When we first met them, both nervous wrecks in Bogota. Fast forward 6 months, they're both killing it. They do a lot of reps, right? Troy, this is a question tangent, but would you say the X factor, the Edge, is going to get you laid more than pre-selection, or do you think they're kind of on the same, or do you think pre-selection trumps it? So you're with random bloke in a bar with 3 women who are kind of looking at him like they're interested. Is that going to attract to other women more than the guy with the ultimate edge? That dark trial kind of James Dean, just like an edgy fucker, right? What's going to?
It's a really hard question. I would probably have to veer on the Edge side of things, to be honest.
Really interesting. I was going to go pre-selection, but
I don't.
Well, we're teaching the Edge. I mean, no, the edgy guy.
yeah. When we start talking social circle, then we'll say social circle. I mean, I don't know. I think both can work. I think the problem with I think for a start, I think I think the social circle thing, unless you're doing it at a decent level, if you're doing it at a Sartain-like level or somebody like that, then it's going to work. If you're doing it at a slightly half-assed level, like you're out with 3, kind of mediocre kind of women in Wigan or something, is that really going to turn the dial? I mean, maybe a bit. But I think, but the reality is, even if you are with those women, I mean, you're still going to have to bring something to the party yourself. Now, presumably, if you've managed to finagle those women to come out, presumably you've already got it, right? And that's what the women are going to think. They're going to think that shorthand, there must be something good about him because he's got these 3 women about him. But I'm on the fence. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part, but I would like to think, actually, if you're edgy enough or you've got enough X factor, you should be able to pull it off yourself.
We thinking about it. Have you been out with a girl and me, and we get so many looks from other women just because we're with one other girl, right? Suddenly, all the girls, are kind of keen, right? And that's the pre-selection in play.
Yeah,
but I think both are important, right? Both are important.
It's both. Yeah, I mean, both are important, really. I don't know. I think the social circle model, I think 100% can work without a doubt. And I think obviously you've got Michael Sartain, who's the most famous now exponent of it, and there have been other people who've done it before and talked about the importance of it. And yeah, for sure, definitely it works. But it kind of depends on what kind of guy you are, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. There's a lot of work involved with that as well, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. And it's
not going to suit most people. It's not going to suit most people because it's a full order, and most people don't want to be life and soul of the party. Let's be fucking honest, right? They want to be able to travel around, have the skill set to touch down and meet random women they see who are attractive. It's way easier, way less barrier to entry in a way than having to like.
I think pre-selection.
Big social circle.
I also think, and again, maybe this is wishful thinking, and maybe this is just me sort of making this up in my head to make myself feel better. But I think pre-selection can be implied anyway. And again, you go back to the James Bond character. I mean, yeah, fictional character, whatever. But nevertheless, you know, he tends not to be surrounded by hundreds of women. He's sitting on his own in the bar drinking the old martini, and then a woman walks in, and he goes and engages with her. And he's charming, and he's got that edge. He's got that expression.
Edge, right? So it's showcase.
Now she's gonna know from his demeanor, without him having to be surrounded by 15 models, that he is somebody who has, you know, already been successful, right? And I think if you can communicate that, that counts for a lot. I think it's a bit of a moot point. I think both can work in the right context, but I think it takes a certain sort of person to really make the social circle thing work.
Yes, agreed.
But I think most people are way better putting that effort in to doing cold approach consistently. I think you're going to get a lot more results.
Well, it's the linchpin of everything, right?
Here's an interesting one, by the way. So Dylan's saying, regarding the looks, I'm quite short, dude, 5'3", had zero success with dating apps, got blown out 50% of the time, but cold approach changed my dating life. Getting over my mental issues was key. So,
yeah,
you know, interesting, you know, case in point there, right?
Okay, but cold approach changed my dating life. So we can assume Dylan is implying that he got success with cold approach. Okay, awesome, man. Great. Yeah. Back to the habits. Do you want to go into any other areas, or?
I think they were the main two.
Do you want to bring up the thing again?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I think basically
the spider web of doom.
So just going to I think if you can like get all these areas in your life under control, right? There's really nothing stopping you, you know, from being successful. And it's like the key with this stuff is like what I help guys with is a lot of people don't know what they actually want, right? They don't have a clear vision of who they want to be, of what they actually want. So that's the first step. And that's how I work with most people. It's like we create that clear vision of who you want to be. And then this is the skill set. These are the tools to make all of these things happen, right?
Yeah, that's the key point, right? So we talk about this. They create what's the 10.0 version of yourself look like? What's that alter ego? What's the highest level, the hero version of you look like? And what's the dream life you can create that you don't want to run away from? That's the point of getting good with the habits.
Yeah, there's no
reverse engineer from that, and then what you do with the clients is you actually map that out with them initially to create the vision, to get them excited, and then it's very easy to do the habits because they're like, "Fuck, I never thought about what I wanted before. I was just in a shitty job." Didn't know what I wanted. I just
stuck in the matrix, right?
Stuck in the matrix and not a conscious creator, not aware of the fact you're a sovereign individual and you have complete responsibility and control for your own life. Yeah. And you just got to you can manifest that vision by actually first creating it and then putting the habits in place to just get. It's that simple.
It's
right?
literally
and
it's as simple as
you're
that.
not in a fucking prison.
Yeah.
And you just got to do the reps to get there, right? So
what would you say about maintenance though? Because there's the classic like the yo-yo dieting thing, isn't there, where people are like, okay, they're really focused for a while on, you know, on a diet, for example, they're really dialed in, and then it kind of goes to pot, and then they put the weight back on. So that's just an example of like diet, nutrition, whatever, but you could extrapolate that into other areas. So is it about having a mentor like longer term in order to keep you accountable, or is there ways, like how do you really bed this in over the longer term?
So I think, having a long-term mentor is great, but it's not, you don't have to do this with a mentor. Right? I didn't do this with a mentor.
No,
a lot of people don't, but again, it's like a lot of it is self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be aware because, for example, you might, and this was a problem I used to have, like I'd be back at home, you know, in Rio doing, like be able to get into the routine, no problem, right? You know, be able to do a lot of approaches, you know, the routine with the gym, diet, everything. But then I'd travel, I'd go somewhere new, and then everything would go out the window, right? And it's like I wasn't even aware of it. So it's like sometimes like we put ourselves in a new environment or go back to an old environment where we had a bad habit, right? So like, and then you have to be able to have that awareness. Okay, like it's being able to be aware when you're getting off track slightly, right? Before because it gets to a point where it's really hard to, you know, get back to bring back that good habit.
And also just being aware of your goals. I mean, I heard
Be aware of the goals
today talking about the guy. One of the habits you're putting in place is he checks his goals every morning.
Yeah.
To actually then reinforce what the fuck am I doing today?
Exactly.
Right.
And then you think, is this action like actually aligned with my goals?
Right.
You know, you have to think like that.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to then knowing who you are, what you want, and then what those goals are. So it's all this very organic sort of process, isn't it? I guess, right? That's got to come from ultimately what is your vision for yourself, I suppose.
Yeah.
How do we fix negative self-beliefs? Because I can speak from my own experience, which is a lot of stuff I wanted in life. I just didn't think it was possible for me because I hadn't got any evidence to back it up. So how do you get over these kind of self-limiting beliefs? Is it just proving to yourself by doing the habits and moving towards the goal that it is possible?
I think that's one thing that I did a lot. Again, we all have a lot of, we all have issues, right? So one thing that, and again, these are just habits, right? These thought patterns, again, it's just like automatic habits that we have, these thought
automatic negative.
So you've got to be aware. And one thing I was doing was like every day, like consciously visualizing like success in an area. Like, for example, like a bad habit. Let's say like I'd go out and like one of the habits was like I'd go and talk to a girl and like I would leave the interaction really quickly. I used to do that a lot. Start to go and like kind of bail out of the interaction quickly. So it's like I would actually do visualization of me in the interaction, being calm, staying calm. Like she's maybe being a bit bitchy, but I'm just like there being calm and like staying in. And then like I'd go out and do that with real girls, and it was way easier to actually do that because it's almost like I reprogram my mind. So it's like you can do a lot of these changes just with the power of your mind, just visualizing, right?
Is that like, something you give to clients, the visualization?
Yeah, it's something that
I mean, they did studies. One that I found most remarkable about that is they sent a group of people to the gym to just work on doing training muscles, and obviously they got bigger. But the other group only visualized going to the gym, and their muscles still grew as half as much as people going to the gym by visualizing their muscles getting bigger.
So the power of the mind is really important. I mean, would you go as far as to say that you could actually change your personality or change the sort of person that you are through habits? Because the story that I always tell, and it is a true story, is TLDR. Basically, I was very shy. I was very introverted. I found social interactions very hard for the most part. Pretty hopeless with girls and so on and so forth. Then I went to university, spent the next load of years getting absolutely smashed and doing bar work as well, which was also really important because it broke me, gave me some social interaction. And it sort of remodeled, it broke apart my personality and remodeled it. Now that was actually a very destructive way of doing it, and I don't recommend that. But it does indicate to me that I thought I was, I'm this sort of person, I'm going to be the guy who's wearing the tweed underpants and, a sort of, tweed jacket with leather elbows and reading books for the rest of my life and never getting laid. And actually that wasn't what I meant to be. I was able to sort of just completely break out of that. So it seems to me that personality is malleable. What we think we are is not necessarily the truth. So a better way of getting there maybe is just fixing the habits and then the rest follows. Does that make sense?
It's got to be right, because we're just an self-image isn't really a thing. It's just the fragments of the memories of yourself you've kind of played out, right? Just habitual constructions, and most of those habits are unconscious. But when you take control of the process, become the conscious creator, you can't not move towards the goal if you actually do the habits. But how much resistance do you find actually with the guys, and they put the habits in place to do, but then actually doing them? Do you find it's hard to build that with most guys, or they can kind of just gently chug along quite easily?
I think the key is
consistency over everything.
Yeah, obviously consistency. I think a lot of people have like that initial I think again it's what we were talking about earlier, right? They think that they need to be motivated, right? And they think, I'm like, one of the guys went to me too. It's like, man, at the moment I'm just like not feeling motivated. Like, what's that all about? It's like, man, it's like, how do I fix this? And it's like, actually, there isn't anything you need to fix. You just have to learn to do it when you're feeling like that, right? And have the plan, a specific time. This is what I do. Is like, for example, one of the habits I have is like, as soon as I wake up, the cue is waking up. I do meditation for 10 minutes, whatever.
As soon as you wake up.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just automated because it's like, at the same time, same place every day, I'm just going to do this. And it's just something I do and don't even think about. So it's like the same with talking to girls, right? Like specific time, I'm going to walk out my house at 2 p.m., just test for interest with 1 or 2 people. Again, it's automatic. It's like, even if you're feeling like shit, because it's just automated. You
and
just do it.
over time, it doesn't take that long to automate something, does it?
No.
21 days, maybe a month.
What I find is that usually at the beginning, probably maybe a lot of the guys on the edge, I don't know, it's like you start something, you've got that initial motivation, right?
And then it dies.
Right at the beginning, and then after a few days, it dies, and that's the hardest part. You've got to push through that phase. There's no quick fixes. You just got to push through it. And then after like 20 days, it just becomes very easy.
So what about in the face of failure, though, and resistance? Because somebody was asking me this recently, like, oh, so if I get a lot of rejections or I get ghosted a lot or whatever, how do I push through that? So even though there doesn't seem to be light at the end of the tunnel, I've still got to keep doing the action.
So it's reframing these things, right? Reframing failure. Seeing it, failure for me, I've actually been working on this recently. It's like, failure for me is a good thing because failure means growth, right?
Yes.
So it's like, what is better to go out and try, fail, and like be aware, okay, like I fucked it up, I did this wrong, I got rejected or whatever, but it's like, okay, like now I know how I can improve. What's better, that or doing nothing, just sitting at home doing nothing? For me, failure is a lot better because you're growing. But again, we're wired to not want the failure, right? We have to override our brains to do it. You know?
Well, I mean, for something that's worked well for me and Troy for many years with the clients is playing the rejection game, where on a night out they're actually trying to get rejected.
Yeah.
Because it leverages their state, and because they don't really care, they're trying to get rejected. The girl doesn't reject them, ironically, most of the time, right? So my favorite story, growth mindset, is of course the Colonel Sanders, who failed 1,005 times driving his chicken recipe around to different restaurants pre-mobile phones. So it took him, of course, like 8 years, and then the 1,000th time it got accepted.
Yeah.
And he's now a multi-million-dollar franchise and his face everywhere at age 62, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, you can change the chemistry, this wiring at any stage. Neuroplasticity does not stop until you die.
And it does not stop.
No, and the more you do it, the more you gear your brain. I think the reason you're able to do things and habitualize them and now learn skill sets very fast is it's almost become a habit.
It's like the habit of learning.
Yeah, the habit of learning, right? The art of learning.
Yeah. So this guy here, One Trick Pony, recommended good visualization books. I think more than books, I don't think you actually need to read a book to visualize. It's just visualizing.
Just thinking about
it. So, like, for example, let's say let's think of a bad habit, right? As I was saying earlier, you go out, you have this bad habit of like, you go into a party. One thing I had, and I was like, I just didn't feel like girls like me.
Right.
You know, I was like, I didn't think that I could be successful, right?
Right.
I didn't think that like, it was actually possible to go to a party and like take a girl home, right? So just going to a place and remembering it, just make it one thing. I'm going to go there and like visualize myself just like, just like taking a girl home. Just visualizing that outcome makes the chance of it happening way higher. It's not the only thing, but just doing that, it's like step by step you visualize these things.
Do you visualize the positive success, or can you also visualize it not working and you dealing with that okay?
Both.
So both the kind of positive and the negative outcome. And that gives you some sort of smooth mastery. Right?
Yeah, because it's like, for example, let's say that you're at home and you practice visualizing, like you're at a bar, you're getting rejected, and you're like keeping your cool, you're like managing to deal with what. If you do that, I can guarantee when you go out, it's going to be way easier to deal with.
Way
easier.
I've done this. I've done this before actually. It does really work. And some of these things, people might think, oh, it sounds a bit woo woo and stuff, but affirmations as well, but also visualization really works. And you've got NBA teams, you've got top NBA players who are doing this stuff. So it's not just us spouting off. It's something that is actually. It's kind of incredible that thing that you mentioned earlier, James, about.
I'll send you a link to it afterwards. I couldn't believe it when I read it. I was just like, "What the fuck?"
The power of the mind is so.
Like 13% over like 8 weeks.
Crazy,
it's insane, right? And they're not even going to gym. Like it's just like, what the fuck? The power of the mind.
The power of the mind is so powerful that it's
everything. Life is a mind game. It's a single projection mind game in your head, right? It's a single person game. You're either on your side or you're not. And for most of my life,
I saw this like video short of Donald Trump of all people, and I don't know where he got these figures from or if it's even they're correct or anything. But he was saying that basically we're only using 2% of our human capacity of the mind, and if we just use 3%, we could solve almost all human diseases, all human problems, like just with an extra percentage point. So the capacity that we're using is so small. And if we could just raise it a little bit, both individually but as a society, the effects of that will be incredible. So, but like you say, the power of suggestion it's mind blowing when you read stuff like that. It really is.
Yeah, and the problem is like, and this is one of the things I have in the test, right? Which is your ability to resist external influence, right? Negative influence, because we're constantly being bombarded by all these things competing for our attention. The news, which paints, makes it the image of makes out that the world's just a horrible place, right? We've got all these things, which is literally just people trying to make money to get you scared, and like we're falling for this shit. And like if we're doing that, we're not going to have the energy to focus on our lives. We're not even going to believe we can change. So you have to learn to unplug from all of this crap that we're just, getting sucked into. And then you think, actually, shit, yeah, it is right. Life can be whatever I want it to be. It is just a projection in my head. So that means, oh, yeah, I can change it, rather than kind of just like being a slave to someone else's goals.
It is like, just. I remember listening to this podcast called Life's a Mind Game by a guy called Leo something or other from Actualize.org. He's got some really good content, I think, but really hit home that it's all in your head. Life is literally just a mind game, a single person mind game. How we perceive the world is not how I perceive the world, is not how you perceive it. And you're either the people that really achieve great things in life, they're just totally on their own side. Yeah. They're just not anti themselves.
And there's no, I think the key thing as well with all of these goals is like, don't beat yourself up if you fail. And like, that's the myth that would dismiss, like, oh, you're a loser if you don't. It's like, be on your side. Be on your own side. I didn't do it today. What did I learn? Like, shit, but I got this right. Like, focus on the positives, and then you're going to build momentum.
Jordan Peterson has a great rule for that in his book, The Antidote to Curb. It's the first book, which is treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping.
Yeah.
So active self-talk, like, come on, let's go again. Like, it really helps them, doesn't it? Rather than being flagellating yourself and dragging yourself through the mud, kicking and screaming. Yeah. Troy, you're posting a link to the second link I sent you on WhatsApp. If guys want to fill this in, it'll give you'll get the results. It's a free test. Fill it in, guys, and if you post it on there, they can do it. Just check your own habits, check where you're at with this stuff. Just click on the thing. Troy will post it.
I'll post it in the chat. We can post it in the description.
It's like he's done too much Adderall. I mean, he's just is it Les again on the caffeine? I mean, it usually is. Les, calm down. Come on, son. Maybe Joe or Bonaparte up to their usual hijinks. Those jokers.
What's that?
No, he's just Clark Kent. This guy called Clark Kent just posts spamming
the chat. I think this guy here is like Mewtwo. It's concerning how day gamers are taking their lives at an alarming rate. Is getting rejected long-term detrimental to your mental well-being? Well, I mean, for a start, I take issue with that. I mean, we had Tom Torero, who sadly took his own life. Or this is what what we've come to understand a couple of years ago. I don't even know the story with Johnny Berber. Is he meant to have? Is that the story with him?
Yeah, how'd you phrase it? Permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Okay, so but that's two people in the course of a number of years out of, I mean, and when we're talking about, day gamers, I mean, I don't even like the term day gamers really, because what we're teaching, day game, it's a buzzword. We're talking about talking to other human beings. It's very, very sad. It's very sad in those individual cases for sure. But I think it's a bit of a stretch to say at an alarming rate. And I also don't think that getting rejected is detrimental to your mental well-being, or it shouldn't be anyway, because getting rejected in all spheres is part of the human experience, is part of life. And if you're not prepared to get rejected, then you're not going to get very far in anything. Never mind day game or girls. I mean, just you're going to get rejected the whole time. So you have to find strategies around that. But I think people, in business, right? I talk to people who are, they're trying to do a business. They're trying to raise venture capital. They're talking to 100 people a day to try and raise money, and they're getting rejected by all of them. And they're not committing suicide, right? They're just going, okay, this is part of the process. I'm getting on with it. This is something that we all have to deal with on one level or another. So I think this comment's a little bit hyperbolic, let's say.
Do you think there's any credibility to the statement that perhaps with women it could be more detrimental if you just continually get rejected and you're not actually improving? I can imagine that does. You have to be kind of improving, don't you, somewhat, rather than just hundreds of rejections. That's
I suppose so, but I don't think, having known Tom somewhat myself, I don't think that it was I mean, I don't know the reasons why he did that. I don't know if anybody will ever really know the full reasons why somebody does something like that. But I don't believe that the reason was because he was rejected a lot. I don't believe that was the central issue. Johnny Berber, I don't know. I don't know anything really about the circumstances of that. But I think there were other factors involved. So yes, it is more painful in a way, romantic rejection, sexual rejection for sure. But I don't think that he's implying that it's some sort of epidemic, and I don't think that's true.
No, it's just not. It's complete generalization. I mean, everyone loves a good rejection story. Any in recent memory that not in recent memory because you've spoken for at the moment, but any good rejection story? People love a good rejection story. I always love that one in you tell about Canary Wharf, where that dude kind of just ended up with the bird you were with, and you were just
Okay,
you don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah,
What's a good one?
Terrible. Yeah.
Any good rejection stories from back in the day?
Self-sabotage.
A self-sabotage one. I mean, he had it recently. We were in a place in just a couple of days ago, and this bird was obsessed with him, and he didn't really fancy it. But I've never seen a bird stalk around a man so much in a nightclub. It was like Mr. M stalking me, wearing my leather jackets and things. It was intense. Like she was just kind of staring at you in the club the whole time. If it had been the other way around, you'd have been arrested, carted off. I mean, it was really intense, wasn't it? She was complimentary. She was a hot girl. Recent rejection stories from me. I mean, Les punched me because I said I masturbate a lot to his girlfriend in the morning.
That's only polite, isn't it? Really? I mean,
you're giving him a compliment by saying, "Oh, mate, I off your bird." Like that's a massive compliment.
Did you actually punch?
No, I didn't. I don't actually wank to Les's bird. I wank to Troy's.
Well, thank you very much. I'll pass it on.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be taken as a compliment. So, if guys were going to get in touch with you, we're doing a special deal with the Edge guys. But if other guys, obviously this going out to YouTube, want to get in touch with you for you to assess our habits, is there anything specific you're working on at the moment, or is it just how would that go? How would that look like?
I mean, I think the first thing is to fill in the test, right? To figure out, get some kind of idea of the areas that are lacking in your life, and then what I like to do is focus on one area at a time. Again, if we have massive goals, overwhelming goals, you're not going to make progress. So I would say, with you guys on the channel, what I would be able to help you with is just to create a system to actually make sure you're doing this stuff on a regular basis, right?
Maybe
that you're
giving,
create a vision of what you want in terms of, dating others, but specifically for dating, it's creating a system so you're out there every day or every couple of days, actually taking action without it being a big deal. It's not a huge deal. That you're just consistently able to do with it, to talk to people, build momentum, because that's, if you're not doing that, you're not ever going to make progress. You can sit at home feeling sorry for yourself, but
reading theory,
which is what I've done a lot in the past. It's very easy to do that, but if you're not going out regularly, you're not going to make good progress. And it's not something to feel ashamed of, oh fuck, I haven't been doing that. It's okay, but just change it, and then you're gonna have a way bigger chance of success. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be a huge deal or something to feel really shit about yourself.
So the focus specifically for the short period of time you've got a few openings is get them on for a taster, and you talk about, right, how do we have the one area to focus on is the habitualization of the social skills, right?
Exactly.
Because that's the reason everyone signed up to the Edge, not to work on your chakras, not to fucking smoke weed with layers or do magic mushrooms with me. It was to actually get out there, speak to women, and go and get a hot girlfriend, or go and get laid, or go and have fun on a date. Right?
Exactly.
So if you're not, it's crazy the amount of avoidance we see.
And we've all been there. All of us have been there.
I mean, I still go dip in and out, right?
Yeah.
If I've been thinking about Les's girlfriend too much, I have no motivation to leave the house. But in all seriousness, it is easy to dip in and out. Even if you've been doing this for many, many years, you're only as good as the last bit of socializing you do.
Yeah.
People completely forget that socializing is about momentum as well. You're never going to wake up the next day, even if you've been so super social the next day, you're always going to wake up low frequency, introverted, not really feeling it. All you can do is give yourself a fucking pep talk in the mirror, walk out of the house and be like, if this was my last day on earth, how would I want to interact with the world? Upbeat, playful, having fun, talking. And then within a few minutes or a few reps or whatever, you're suddenly feeling good again.
Yeah.
Humans are not one way, we're just the states we're in. So identifying when you're in that low frequency, introverted state, and changing it by taking action. You can't think your way to a new realization.
Exactly. And I think another thing to add as well is I recently turned 30, right? And that was just a bit of a wake up call. It's fuck, I'm not going to be here forever. And I'm going to be dead someday. So is talking to a girl really a big deal?
When you put it through
so if I'm going to be
nothing
at some point, it's not a big deal. So it's like, why would I want to like sit around and do nothing? And like, I'm going to look back in 30 years or whatever, like, fuck, I didn't give it my best shot. So
100%.
why would I want to do that when I can just go out and just give it a best shot? I'm like, yeah, it is difficult at first, but you know, give it a go, try, fail. You're going to fail. I fail, and like, just go for it and do your best and get help if you need help. And, you know, and then you're going to look back like, oh, shit, nice. Gave him my best shot, and you're going to get results as well.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. It really isn't. And
than you think. We make it out in our heads like it's way hard because it's another avoidance thing, right?
Yeah.
You think it's really possible, then it's like, oh yeah, you can avoid it, make excuses, you know?
Yeah. It really is. So yeah, guys, I want to get in touch. Send myself an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com with the title Habits with Eddie, or info@jamestusk.com. Title Habits with Eddie. I think you've got 2 or 3 spaces spare for a taster. It's a lot discounted price for Edge clients and slightly discounted price for non-Edge clients because we're going to get guys. This is super important. Everything fits under habits, doesn't it? Everything. And you can either consciously aware of that and manipulate it in your favor, or just be like the leaf in the wind in American Beauty and just be like, oh, let's just see what happens. Let's go with the flow and just be a fucking victim. And as a man, unfortunately, you don't get a free pass. No one's coming to save your ass.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would you accept a boxing match with John Anthony Lifestyle?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? Is it able to do that? Or? Man, he's a toxic motherfucker, that dude.
Who is it?
Just some toxic motherfucker. Any final thoughts on habits, Mr. Francis, or anything else you want to discuss? Apart from, let's call out the Edge group as a whole. Like, why the fuck is only on an approaching course they paid for? Why is only 3 of the guys actually replied to our message about how many approaches they're supposed to be doing? Is that not insane?
It is insane. So, I mean, I'll put another message in. We'll try to keep updating this with messages. But in the end, we need people to also be self-starters, as they'd say in the corporate world, right? You need to be like, we're here to help facilitate, but we can't be like spoon feeding you the whole time, right? You paid, you're on the course. You should be wanting to do this and getting the most out of it, because the most help that we can give you, and there are always, whenever we do this, there are always a few guys and they are going out, they are doing it, they're giving us feedback. They're saying, oh, I went out on Tuesday and I spoke to X number of girls and this happened and that happened. And then we're able to feed back and we're able to actually help them. Whereas if you don't do anything, there's nothing for us to feed back on, so we can't help you. So in the end, it's for your benefit. It's not really for our benefit. We're delivering the content, but we can't. You've actually got to do your bit as well if you want us to help, because we're here for, we're running this for 12 weeks. I mean, I think it's going slightly over 12 weeks because we're going over Christmas, but then it's going to be finished, right? So you've got a finite opportunity where we can actually really help you fine tune this stuff. But if you don't do anything, then
if guys don't, we'll put out another video on your individual WhatsApp groups. I'm tempted to say if guys don't give us a target, we just kick them off the course, because what's the point in them being there? To soak up more theory and make notes of it, and then masturbate on a Friday night in their office. I mean, what is the point? So guys, expect to have to give a target. It can be one approach, or if you're really terrified, Eddie or me or Troy can get on the phone and actually coach you during the.
And that's one thing I
that's
did.
you had.
That's what I was doing when I first started doing it. Because I was able to go out with mates and do it, but by myself I couldn't. So what I did is just got like someone on the phone to just give me that extra push, and then it became way easier. Step by step. Start with that, and then start with, okay, I'm going to just talk to one person, ask for directions, then I'm going to give a compliment, then I'm going to go and just like talk to like say one sentence after. It's like baby steps at a time. And then you're like, oh shit, nice, I'm succeeding, I'm making progress, and then you suddenly get into flow and you see a girl and you don't even hesitate, you do it. It becomes easier to do it than not to do it. So it's really easy to forget that you can be in that state when you're feeling negative. But it's just about these small wins, all areas of your life.
And every single person filled out the habits thing that we sent on your individual WhatsApp groups. Only 3 of you replied to the approach target. So I know you guys are seeing the messages. There's no excuse, right? So we're going to send another message. Please give us a target. It can be one compliment. It doesn't matter where you start. It's the tortoise wins the race with this. It's consistency wins the race. That's it.
Yeah, because like I said, we're not Wes Watsoning it for the most part, unless James has done a load of trend. I mean, we're not really like going, oh, you motherfuckers, you got to, blah blah blah. We're happy to take this at your own pace.
Yeah.
If you say, listen, I'm really super socially nervous. I can only ask 3 people for directions this week, or 1 person for directions. Wherever you're starting, that's fine, but we need to start somewhere to get you, to climbing the ladder and getting you into taking the action. So
yeah, and be okay with it. Like, be honest with yourself. Like, okay, like I'm not able to do this by myself. I'm really struggling. Like, don't make it. Just be honest with it, and then go accept where you are and go from there.
Look at this comment. I'll piss Sam off so much. Eddie's like a Jackson and Eddie is like a Jackson Bowl Fluent Social. He knows Sam from Fluent Social very well, so that absolutely warms my cockles to see that comment. I'm going to take that now, so it doesn't get. I've got to then.
Anyone know what happened to King Cole?
He's dead, I'm afraid. High attrition rate for day game, couldn't handle the rejection. I mean, if you want to see a guy, no, I'm joking. If you want to see a guy handle rejection like a boss, check out myself and. Well, no, it's not on my channel anymore. Check out the live streams me and Troy did from COVID Russia, where King Cole, this very short Indian dude, rolls in, no right to be approaching these Russian stunners, and just fearless. Where did he get that from? Where did he actually get that from? Because we were sitting there quaking in our boots with 10s walking past, and King Cole's just like, charge the light brigade, let's go, lads. Like, just
it's belief. It's so powerful, so powerful. Troy, what do you think of Pearl Davis? Yeah, she's great. She's a friend of mine. She's cool. She's back in the States now, but yeah. Nice girl.
Are you still collaborating with Pearl?
No, but I mean, but I mean, kind of in touch with her. I mean, she's cool. She's good. She's good, doing her own thing. Anyway, anything else to add?
Yeah. When do we next? For those of you who haven't heard, the big next boot camp, myself, Troy, and a number of the coaches are going to be on. Eddie may be there. Joe, Les, all the team again, a bit like Bogota, minus obviously one very badly dark-tried individual, didn't do it right, mate. We'll be in Brazil for Rio Carnival. Epic times, 26th of March till the 8th of February, 26th of February to the 8th of March. It is the party to be at. 2 million people coming into Rio, going wild. All the hottest girls in Brazil. Really good crew of coaches. We've got 8 guys sign up, space for 2 more. Come along. It's gonna be amazing, and there is a bit of time pressure, external urgency, because accommodation in the best area is selling low at the moment. It should be on every man's bucket list. It's that good. I mean, it's the only thing I've ever been to 7 years in a row in my travel, in my high-end homeless person routine that I've done. It's that good,
and it's the perfect place for me also to get into a rhythm with this stuff, right? Because girls in Brazil are way more receptive than the
friendly,
UK.
aren't they?
So it's very easy to get your confidence and kind of get into a rhythm with this stuff. There's so many girls, an unlimited amount of hot girls, right? And you just get into a rhythm with it. So it's a really good place to start this, and then you can go back, use that momentum to keep on going with it.
So if you'd like to join for Rio Carnival and inquire about it, send myself an email with your WhatsApp number included. info@jamestusk.com, Rio Carnival 2025, or Troy at realtroyfrance.com, Rio Carnival 2025. Include your WhatsApp number and we can discuss your attendance. It's going to be epic. It is that good. It's very fast-paced day game in the day, and you can pull girls home straight from the street. The girls are smoke shows. They're hunting for foreigners because there's no foreigners there. So you've got Brazilian guys pretending to be from the UK and US, speaking in these weird kind of fake English accents, and girls are literally IDing. I've been ID'd before by the friends, and it shows the UK. And then you just go back straight home with the girl. They think you're a Brazilian pretending to be a foreigner. That's how much foreigners are lauded it up in Carnival.
I mean, for me, I came here once and I moved here. I've been here 7 years.
I mean, and I came back every time.
And it shocks your reality, right? Again, because you come here like, shit, I didn't realize.
Hot girls actually like me.
Yeah.
Like shit, is that because we're out from the Anglo-sphere, right? We used to dance around Yates under that crystal ball and just buffaloes blowing us out, pints being thrown on our heads and breadcrumbs on the ceiling. And now suddenly these hot girls are like, what the fuck is going on? You always go into existential shock, but it's phenomenal
reality.
Sheena, watch out, Troy. No, I'm just joking. No, in Carnival, no one gets laid in Carnival. No English guys. So Sheena, don't worry about Troy.
Indeed. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Well, look, thanks for tuning in. People who are on the edge, look out in the chat and Telegram for the next live stream, which will be coming up soon.
And set your target. There's no fucking excuse. The guys in the edge, we're going to send another video. If you don't reply, push. We're going to do the old rabbi routine and snip you out the edge. And for those of you who'd like to just check your own habits for a bit of conscious awareness, it is the linchpin to get where you want in life, right? Your dream identity, your dream life. Do the thing that Troy's posted in there.
And I'm happy to jump on a quick call as well for anyone. I think the guys have done the quiz. I'm happy to jump on a 5-minute call just to go over the results.
Good idea.
Give you my feedback and just think, create like an action plan for what, would work for you. No strings attached, 5 minutes. I'm happy to do that for whoever's interested.
Awesome. That's very nice of you. So again, get in touch to say any habits and we can figure that out if you're on the edge, you've done the quiz already, or if you do the quiz on the link provided above in the chat, then we will post it below the video as well. Just fill it out and, get in touch via email, info@jamestusk.com or troy@realtroyfrance.com. It's been a pleasure. When are we next back on air, Troy? When's the next webinar?
Well, as far as the, I'm not sure as far as the edge is concerned, because I mean, a lot of this stuff we're doing on Zoom, because this is obviously for people who've, this is obviously people who normally paid to be on the course. This one, a few of them we're doing live on YouTube just to give people a bit of extra value. But what else have we got coming up? We might have to.
James Laveau, maybe the speech this Friday.
Yes.
Or Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's meant to be one actually tomorrow. Although we might have to have a conversation about that offline. That may have been moved. But Friday you've got James Laveau coming up. Oscar speech.
Great stuff.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Email us with any questions, or if you're interested in working with Eddie or anything about the Edge or anything, or Rio Carnival, and we'll speak to you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.